Hello and welcome to the Infectious Groove Podcast, part of the Odd Pods Media Network. Recorded at the 33 1/3 Music Appreciation Center in Speakeasy, located just outside of Detroit, Michigan. The Infectious Groove Podcast is your source for jammy jams, music news, and the best in-depth music discussion. Thanks for joining us. Now here are your hosts.
Well, hello there. My name is Russ. Along with me is Kyle, and happy as ever to be here is Michelle.
Thrilled.
Always. Always.
Stoked.
The amount of sheer joy that you bring over when you sit is just amazing. Where you can feel energy coming from people. Mm-hmm. It's so negative.
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's just puzzling.
Just because I have to deal with you asshats.
What? We need to start doing at least one episode a season where you have to just say nice things the whole episode.
When do I get to air my grievances?
When you get on YouTube. That can be,
I'm going to hijack your show.
That can be your first YouTube video. Can be a list. Like, why don't you start now? Start penning down as you think of them, your grievances, and then we can do a whole
As if
YouTube
I don't
video.
have an Excel spreadsheet already going.
Say, she's got a pivot table with her grievances. On the program today, we are going to discuss a very serious matter that just came to light again recently. And well, the three of us talked about this. Like, when things like this happen, it's a weird spot for at least us to be in, because I feel like it needs to be discussed, but I never, ever, ever want to be the show that's like jumping on trends, especially when harm and up to and including death is involved. I don't want to be the show that like sensationalizes something like that.
Right.
So that's why I feel like it was better for us to wait on this topic with what happened recently at the Astroworld event. And we will get into that. We're going to talk actually a little bit about that event and some things that have gone on previous in music history. But as we always do, we're going to have more of a positive discussion, or I mean, we're going to try. I don't know where Michelle's going to be at on this, but we're going to try.
You have to say what we're talking about.
Real hard. I literally just explained what we were talking about for like a whole 30 seconds.
But you never said it. You like danced around it.
We're going to talk about crowd issues at concerts.
Thank you.
Like what just occurred at Astroworld.
I just needed to be filled in.
She's forgotten until just now.
I was going to say, I really wish someone had told you last week and midweek and listed off the questions and the points of discussion.
I did research.
I'm going to doubt that. We're gonna see. Michelle just went and filled out a Mad Libs about concerts. considers that to be. Anyways, real quick, as far as upcoming information on the show, those of you who have listened to us for a long time know that every 6 months we take a 2-week break. Not required by me or Kyle. I don't want to name names, but it's not Kyle or I who need that. So you are listening to one of the last episodes of season 4. And next week, we will have an album review from Kyle. Then we will have a year-end special that we did last year. We'll do it again, which was a lot of fun. Then we'll be off for 2 weeks, and you will start to get new episodes of the show in mid-January. And the YouTube channel, you'll still get 2 new videos every week, regardless of the show being on break. So we'll still have content out there. We just won't have a new podcast episode for 2 weeks. And as we go into January, by the way, we will be celebrating our 2-year anniversary as a show, which I think is awesome. Yeah, I know. I know. Kyle and I like it a great deal. People that support us on Patreon like it a great deal. All of our listeners like it a great deal. There's just one person I know of who really doesn't enjoy the show all that much.
I enjoy it after the 2-week break.
Do you get recharged?
I do need to get recharged. Do you know how much has changed in 2 years? We started this pre-pandemic.
We did. Like, just barely.
Yeah, just barely. And also, we have a baby.
That's true.
We do.
Like, are you just reminding yourself of all these things? Like, are you just like, oh my God, we have a kid?
Sometimes I forget.
All right, we're going to go into the feedback.
Feedback, Joe.
Don't worry about that. Right. Where would rock and roll be without feedback?
We have the Micro Break podcast, who I just did a guest spot on, which I think is going to be out either the day after this episode you're hearing, or maybe even the week after. But either way, you'll see it on our social media, and that was a great amount of fun. On that episode, we were talking a great deal about like why I got so passionate about music and the artists that did that, which we've talked a lot on the show about. In any case, this like caused the Micro Break podcast to go and like really start looking into Pink Floyd again. It was like, I kind of missed out on Floyd, you know? And so they were tweeting at us like live versions of Floyd stuff that they were like, oh my God, like I've never seen this before, you know? So, but what I thought was interesting was, without me even mentioning it, the version that the live thing that they tagged us in was a live version of Comfortably Numb from Nebworth 1990, which he went and found on his own, but that was the very first Pink Floyd concert I ever saw. Like, I saw it live as it was broadcast on MTV, and that version of Comfortably Numb, literally, because it was like raining and Gilmore's just out there in the rain just slaying that solo. And
How emo.
That was like the thing that, that's what I think of when I think of Pink Floyd, is emo. Gilmore playing that solo in the rain on that day was the thing that made me like want to play guitar at all, ever. So it was just kind of neat that that's happened to be the one that he found.
Yeah.
So Seth has some feedback for
Oh,
us.
God.
Wow, another week where Michelle was right. This is a poor way to start this.
That is
I'm
a
so
poor way
excited to
say
hear
it.
about how I'm right.
Fix You by Casey Musgraves is in fact a Coldplay cover. The fact that Kyle didn't know that is disturbing.
I hate Coldplay. So
Yeah,
it's
I'm
fine.
not a fan of Coldplay either. But like
But you didn't know that the song was a cover?
No, I don't.
do you remember last week on the show when he didn't know and you said, is it Coldplay? It's probably Coldplay. And he said he didn't know.
And
And
you
that's
wanna-
what Seth is referring to.
You want to know what? When I put the playlist together, I had every intention of clicking on it to listen to it, and then I forgot.
I guess
Giant surprise.
not only did I not know it was Coldplay, I just don't Coldplay, so I don't. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. Didn't click.
Seth says to us, and this is directed at you and I, Kyle, I'm going to need you guys to step it up because I've said Michelle is right way too damn many times in the last 2 weeks. That's our bad.
Yeah,
That's our bad. That's on me and you, and we're going to own that.
I'm way up here on my pedestal. So
Yeah,
I
you can't even hear
I
us
can't
up
even
in the-
see you
yeah.
down there. What's going on?
Michelle joining the program from the high road. I don't know how you can put yourself up on a pedestal from the low road.
Figured it out.
Yeah. She's got it down.
Follow me for more tips.
Yes. This next one I thought was funny. A friend of the show, Joe, said, there's a new album review out from Infectious Groove. It's always interesting when they all agree, but not in the same way. It's just like, we did, like, all of us were like, this is a great album. But you're wrong about it. Like, you're wrong about how this is a great album. I got that, and I didn't even think of that till I got that tweet, and I was like, we do that.
Yeah.
Even when we agree, it's still not.
Unanimous.
Yeah, it's still somehow it's not unanimous. Nicholas writes us about Mumford & Sons and said, this episode made me go back and give them a second chance. I missed their old sound, so I stopped listening when Wilder Mind came out. I'm really glad I gave it a second chance, thanks to you guys, because I love the album.
Yes.
So wait till
I
you
did
hear
that.
Delta is all I have to say. It was every fiber in my being stopped me from replying to that tweet with, wait till you hear Delta.
Did we call the episode It Should Have Been Delta?
That would have been great. We always have just the Infectious Groove crew or IGP album review crew or something like that, but I would have made an exception for that one. Like, this just should have been
It's
Delta.
almost a review of Delta.
Whenever they reissue Wilder Mind on vinyl, it should just be called This Should Be Delta. Or there should just be an arrow pointing to Delta in the record bin.
Yes.
Like, buy that instead.
Or they just put Delta in the sleeve for Wilder Mind.
Yeah. Aaron from the I Had to Say It podcast says, a fantastic album for not being Delta.
Is that what he said?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were adding that.
No, a fantastic album for not being Delta. Go listen now. Michelle's great.
Thanks.
Yep. Let's see here. Mike Downing, who lives in...
Chicago.
Yes. I generally edit out a lot of the pauses and thinky pains that Michelle has. I'm going to leave that.
Thinking big.
I'm going to leave that one
I
out.
thought she was joking, and then she wasn't.
No, she's how much of your life do you spend in that?
My brain skipped for a second.
I see it. Mike Downing from Chicago says, great episode. It's always entertaining when Michelle takes it off the rails. Hashtag Michelle's great. You know.
I did?
Yes. The last week's episode, several times. I had to be the one to be like, we got to stop talking about Delta. Like,
I feel like that was me.
it's available on the internet if you want to go listen to it.
Where do I subscribe?
Yeah, I know. I wish you knew. Let's see here. This is random, but I've told you guys before on the Twitter account, I will sometimes just randomly tweet lyrics from stuff that's in my head, and it gets a lot of traction. Like, I don't even hashtag the band or the song or anything, and a lot of times people will just pick up on it. So the other day, I tweeted, 2 Trailer Park Girls Go Around the Outside, and Garrett replied and said, well, that's getting played today, which I thought was great. He said, I just finished listening to both of Mumford's albums, Wilder Mind and Delta, yesterday because of you all, smiley face. So I thought that was great. I'm sure he had a better time with Delta. I thought for sure a comment was coming. Nothing.
I was thinking that I would pick Delta for my next pick, but we pretty much already reviewed it.
We pretty much covered it. Yeah.
There's not much more to say.
We could do an entire episode of you and I arguing over Darkness Visible.
I think everyone likes that song but me.
Probably because it's a great song.
Accurate.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Get out.
Yeah, I was going to say, before Kyle gets in trouble, I'm going to move this along. Our jammies. I have 2 wildly different things that I've been listening to this week. One is, this is vinyl related, but it led me to an album that I haven't listened to in forever, and that is Atlantic Records put out a Skid Row box set, which I am as surprised as anyone else that happened. And
A box set?
Yeah, oh yeah. And for me, I already had the first 3. Well, this is going to hurt your heart. Skid Row has 2 albums, and then their third album is an EP. Sorry. And it's an EP, Kyle, because it has
a greatest hits album.
No, but Skid Row does have one of my favorite titles for a greatest hits album ever, though, because they were really a band for 10 years, and their greatest hits album is called 40 Seasons, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's unique, at least, for Skid Row.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure someone at the record label thought of that. But so, anyways, they have 2 studio albums, and they have an EP. Which, as we know, Kyle, is 5 tracks, so it's not a full album. It's not a single. It's an extended play from a single, right? As we know. And then their third studio album is called Subhuman Race, which no one on earth likes, except for me and like maybe one of the guys from Skid Row. Like, I don't even think the whole band likes it. So their third album, Subhuman Race, came out in the mid-90s. To give you an idea, like years ago, I almost paid like several $100s for an original pressing of this album, because it must be me and the guy who owned the one for sale must be the only people who ever liked it. But anyways, so Atlantic Records put out this box set that was not the first 2 albums, the EP, the first ever reissue of the third album, which was good for me. And then they had a live EP from that tour that came out only in Japan and only on CD that's in this box set on vinyl for the first time ever. So I was like really stoked to have that. So
Aren't they big in Japan?
That era of metal was like popular way longer in the East than it was over here. Like in the late 90s, like Mr. Big, Skid Row, Poison, they were all selling stadiums out still over there. Like, I literally have bootlegs of Mr. Big, like, who in America is only known as the To Be With You guys, playing like the Tokyo Dome in like 1998. You know, it's just because in every other culture except for ours, they don't have a short attention span. When they get loyal to something, they stick with it. And so here in the U.S., especially to do with music, like every 2 years, the record labels are like, well, let's just sell them something else. And people are like, okay, let's all go over there, you know? So anyways, I got to listen to Subhuman Race, which is just like, I could play that album for you and you would have no idea that it's Skid Row. Like, it's just a totally different style then again, it's a Skid Row album that came out in 1996. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's totally different than the first 2 albums. You would never know it's the same guys who did like I Remember You or 18 in Life or anything. But I like it a great deal. Like, I really like the sound. They changed their sound without just going, oh, hey, we're alternative now because everyone's alternative. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very, very excited to have that and listen to the album a bunch over that. And then I finally got around to listening to, not the new Adele record, still haven't listened to that, Michelle. The latest Billie Eilish record. And holy shit.
Yeah?
Yeah. That is, I know, Kyle, you talked a couple weeks ago about like being like, okay, now I see what the big deal is.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I never bothered listening. The only thing I heard off of her, that I heard off of her first record was Bad Guy. And then I think she's got an EP that I never listened to. And then, so I just blind bought the new one. It was like, well, worst case scenario, I could say I tried, you know, and Jesus, that's a good album. That's a really, really, really good album. So I'm going to look into more from that young lady like that.
And it's different. She stopped singing into the box fan. So that sound is gone now.
The immediacy of the vocals is insane. But in her lyrics, one thing that I notice about Billie Eilish from the way outside looking in is I can't open up social media, either Facebook or Twitter, without 40 articles about what she's wearing.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh God, Billie Eilish cut another inch off her hair. Oh God, it's the end of the world. And like these terrible targeted sexist articles that you would think we were done with now, but you see it all the time about her. And there's a song on this record that came out way before all these articles that it's like the Michael Jackson Leave Me Alone. Like, it's like her equivalent of that. The whole song is her being like, so maybe it doesn't matter at all. Like, if you could just stop telling everybody what I'm wearing all the time and what my hair looks like, that'd be great. And so that song's on that album, and they're still like, yeah, but did you see she changed her pants? Like, good Lord.
And she totally changed her look for this album too. Like, she looks like a grown woman now, and not like a younger girl. And people used to talk about how she was dressing because she dressed all, baggy clothes, and now they talk about how much skin she's showing and whatever. She's trying to change it up and, grow into herself, and she can't win no matter what.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I just thought when I was listening to the record last night, I was like, there's a whole song on here about how they should knock that off. And yet in promoting the record, they're like, hey, let's do that still. So stupid.
I'm still mind-blown by the fact that I don't know about the new record, but the fact that she records all that shit in the bedroom.
Yeah, the new one's the same way.
Is it?
Her and Phineas did it at home.
I cannot.
Yep.
If I did not see that happening in real time, I would not believe it. It is incredible.
There's another documentary about the new album too.
Oh, is there?
I want to watch that too. So anyways, yeah, two wildly different things, but I was just blown. I literally, as I dropped the needle on the Billie Eilish record last night, I thought, well, worst case scenario is going to be about 80 minutes or so that is either going to be like, oh, well, now I know not to listen to her anymore, or I'm going to love it. And I mean, every song that started, I was like, oh, well, this is great. So I'm real happy with that.
Fine, I guess I'll listen to it.
Oh, okay. She's going to come down from on high. Now, do you have like a step stool up to your pedestal that you're coming down to just get this record and go back up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ladder.
Kyle, what have you been listening to?
So I happened upon a show called The Mosquito Coast.
Okay.
And it's on Apple TV. Mm-hmm. It just sounded interesting. It's kind of like reminds me of like Breaking Bad and
Ozark.
Yeah, Ozarks.
Okay.
Or Ozark, how the hell you say that title of that. It's kind of like dark and weird like that. It involves all kinds of crazy stuff. Anyways, there's the fourth episode, they are running from the government or whatever, and they just go into this house and put on a record, and it happened to be this Morrissey song. Mm-hmm. And it is called, what is it called? The First of the Gang to Die. Mm-hmm. And they put that on, and I was like, oh, God, this is a fucking jam.
It's not a remix or anything?
No.
Man, do I not get along with Morrissey.
See, and a lot of people don't.
No, but I thought you were going to be like, well, it's a remix, of course.
No, I found it cool that they put on the record and not like put a CD in or put a tape in or whatever. Mm-hmm. They put on an actual record. Honestly, I had no idea who the hell it was when I was listening to it. I had to Google it and figure it out.
But the world's deepest and most sad voice came in, and you were like, "Who is that?"
But then I was listening. I was like, "Man, not only does it fit into this episode like perfectly, like this song's a fucking jam." So I've been listening to that song.
Right on.
Also, because of our last episode, I found myself listening to Delta a shitload.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Did someone recommend it to you? Or was it on your own?
And so I got into that, and of course, straight through all the way.
Oh, yeah. Well,
multiple times.
You want to make sure you don't skip Darkness Visible, which is the best song on the record.
Shut up.
I adore that. I texted her the day that record came out, and I was like, they just made the best song they've ever made. She's like, it's not the one that sucks, is it? And I was like, oh, boy.
Then we were like, we'll never talk about this again. And here we are.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we're never going to talk about this again unless it's to the world.
Unless we record it for history.
Yeah. So Morrissey and the Mumfords. What else you got?
Son, and then Mike, period. Formerly known as Mike Stud.
Listen, I realize I'm going to sound like a grandpa when I say this.
You're an old.
But you kids and your rap names.
I don't know how else to say his name. It's Mike with a period at the end. I don't
Mike. You have to Mike.
Makes it super easy to put together the playlist notes. Go on.
He's not a rapper, is he?
Yeah. He put out a new record, and I honestly had no idea until I was messing around on Spotify looking for new stuff that had come out. And it's different than all of his other stuff, which I found to be interesting.
But you like it?
Yeah, it's different in a good way. It's like most of his other stuff is like I don't know, like party rap, like college party rap,
right.
Drinking party and that kind of shit. This one's like a whole different. There's a lot more like acoustic instruments involved,
That's cool.
And he still raps, but I don't know. It seems like a little bit more deeper. Like maybe he's like gotten past that whole stage of his life. Where
that would be nice.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll go back to Mike Stud.
I'm not even making a comment on him. It's like, the two examples I always bring up is Bon Jovi and Eminem. It's like, when Eminem, the first three records, like, there's only so much complaining you can do about your parents and your upbringing and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, before you're either we're tired of hearing about it or you don't have anything to complain about anymore.
Yeah.
And the other one is Bon Jovi. You know what I mean? It's like, how many different ways can you sing about high school love that went wrong or whatever,
Right.
it's so whenever Jovi does something different, I'm the first person to be like, yes, thank you. Like, you are now 60 and still singing about your high school. Also, John Bon Jovi's been married to the same woman since high school. So it's like, could you stop complaining about a thing that you know nothing about?
What do you want him to sing about? How much she loves her for 40 years?
I have a list of things I'd like Bon Jovi to sing about. We'll do an episode about it.
That would actually be interesting.
It very much would be. So, anyways, Mike Period and Mumford and Sons and
Morrissey?
I'm so puzzled by Morrissey.
The Mike album is is called The Highs with a period at the end.
With period at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Good.
In case anyone was wondering.
I can't wait till a couple of weeks from now. When we'll, maybe hold off till season 5 for this. But when I'm like, Kyle, what have you been listening to? And you're like, well, there's this new guy, parentheses. I like him a lot. He does this track with Slash. No, not the guitarist.
Backslash.
Yeah, the actual,
Backslash.
Yeah, with backslash. Jesus Christ. And then last week when Michelle's like, no, something or other.
BB no dollar sign.
$no.
Yeah. Can we just get
Did
back
anybody
to...
tell us how you say that, or nobody cares?
No one cares.
Oh.
I think you and that woman and her family are the only people that know that song. So
I will say that I was right along with you, Russ, when I found out that was a Morrissey song, and I was like, I can't believe I like a Morrissey song.
And then he played it for me, and he was like, you know the song? And I was like, no.
if he starts digging into Morrissey and the Smiths, get ready for your house to become very sad.
I have an Elliott Smith record you could pop on,
Yeah,
too.
same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's a slippery slope over to Joy Division from there. I'm not a
I
Joy
draw
Division
the
fan.
line at Joy Division.
Everyone should draw the line at Joy Division. Michelle, what are your jammy jams? I didn't even ask if you had any ahead of time.
So
Shocking show of faith on my part.
I, independently of Kyle, have been listening to Delta and Babel.
I swear I thought you were going to say Morrissey.
No, I put on Babel for the first time in a really long time, and I listened to that front to back this week. And then after that was over, I was like, well, I want more. And then I went to Delta, and I've been listening to them back and forth all week.
Including Darkness Visible. What a great song.
I actually just hid that from my Spotify playlist.
You're the worst.
I'm just kidding.
So all Mumford for you?
All Mumford this week, and some podcasts. But yeah, all Mumford this week.
Did
For the
you-
second week in a row.
Did you listen to the Muck podcast yet? Because I sure did tell you to.
So what had happened was I found it, and then I followed it, and then I forgot about it.
Okay.
So I'm like halfway there.
Will you, I rarely ask you to make posts on our social media, but will you break that down for everyone on our social media? Will you
Yeah.
make a chart?
Yeah.
I just don't want people listening to the episode, maybe driving, and be like, well, how do I keep track of this? So again, you found it,
Yeah.
you followed it,
Yep.
and then you forgot it.
Yes.
Okay, the 3 Fs.
Those are the 3 Fs of my whole life.
Speaking of which, how's your gift card for Dearborn Music going?
Oh yeah, I have that.
Because you found it. You found it. And
Forgot it in a
forgot it.
purse somewhere.
Yep.
No, I know exactly where it is.
Both the store and the gift card. We know where the store is because it's way 10 minutes
way
away
out of the
from the
way.
house.
Did you know that it's way out of my way? So that's why I haven't been there yet.
I've heard. I heard about that on the news. Actually, they were talking about it. Oh Lord, we are going to take a break. It was just Mumford, right? Sometimes I get yelled at.
This week it was just more Mumford.
Just more Mumford. Sweet. We are going to take a break. When we get back, we are going to talk a little bit about this issue that happened at Astroworld and the history of violence and issues that happen at concerts, but we are going to handle it in the most positive way we can, as we always do. You are listening to the Infectious Groove Podcast on the Odd Pods Media Network.
Hi, I'm Tina Jaramillo.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
And we host the Muck Podcast, where we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics.
Hey, Tina, did you know that Elvis crashed the Nixon White House for the sole purpose of getting a DEA badge? And it worked?
What? Or how a gun control advocate senator out of California engaged in gun trafficking with notorious gang leader Shrimp Boy?
Shrimp Boy, I remember him. Okay, so, we cover all of that and more from maladies, madness, mischief, and murder in U.S. politics.
And we also host a bi-weekly interview segment called Lil Muck.
We interview politicians, journalists, activists, and others who share their experiences in politics.
Find the Muck Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and check us out on social media at the Muck Podcast.
Welcome everybody to the Body Skew Podcast. I am...
No, whoa, dude. No. This is our promo, not the show.
I'm Rico.
Oh, sorry, I'm CJ, and we're the hosts of the Pot Askew podcast.
We're fans of pretty much anything and everything pop culture, including movies, TV shows, books, video games, comics, music, and of course, Kevin Smith. Now, while we do keep our fingers on the pulse of Silent Bob, he certainly doesn't need our help in promoting him.
You got that right. We do our own thing, with inspiration from the man himself and his mantra of why not. We've got stories about celebrities we've interviewed, theories of our own for certain movies, and we can usually tend to have a great debate about anything.
We also do commentaries on movies. Sometimes we ask our fans what they want to watch with us. So if you love the timbre of our vocal cords and want to watch a movie at the same time, give us a listen.
Stay tuned every Monday, there's always something new. And if you've been good this year, we may even give you a bonus episode from time to time.
So please be good and subscribe to and enjoy Pot Askew, founding member of the Odd Pods Media Network.
We are back. It's Michelle, it's Kyle, it's Russ, and we are doing the Infectious Groove podcast, and we are going to get into our main topic of discussion this week, which, like I say, when we do topics like this, we try and put a positive spin on things, or at least have a discussion that I don't feel is sensationalized or anything like that. That's why if you do find this episode, you will not find it through us having hashtagged or tagged the artists that were involved in the most recent event, because I'm not interested in causing a sensational surge for the show off of the backs of people who passed away from awful behavior, Yes. But I do think it's something that's important to talk about, and we'll get into our personal experiences and everything. But for me, and I told Kyle and Michelle, I kind of wanted to set them up on this, because the biggest thing I thought from this coverage for the Astroworld event, where there was a crowd surge and so many people passed away, am I wrong, or did the media present this like no one's ever been injured at a concert before? Holy cow, this is the first time this has ever happened.
I think that I don't know. I read a lot of details about the one that just happened, and I feel like it was like the perfect storm of everything that went wrong. It wasn't just like a whole bunch of people at the concert were rushing the stage. It was like people were trying to get through the gates, and they were like, who didn't have tickets. And then there was like, it was just a lot of things, I think, that happened to result in that. And it's today.
But the media
coverage was insane.
That was my thing. And also, I noticed that you made sure to mention that there were lines and people couldn't get through the gate, because I know what a big deal that is for you personally.
Well, they didn't even have tickets. I read that they were going to buy merch.
Oh, just people trying to just get in,
and they were like, they pushed down the fencing, and like there's people being trampled on the way in, and they just.
Oh, okay.
And that's
I didn't even know that. This is minor and barely related, but I'm going to mention it. When Roger Waters did The Wall by himself in Berlin in 1990, he did it right in Potsdamer Platz, which was the no man's land between East and West Germany. So it was literally pretty much right where the wall used to be, the Berlin Wall. And they had set up fencing and all this stuff, and they were expecting a crowd of, they had paid, like there was like 75,000 paid, and they were expecting to facilitate 125. And the crowd got so large outside of the fence for unpaid attendance that they literally just made the call, and they were like, just take all the fencing down and let whoever's out there in. There ended up being 480,000 people.
How do they even know that?
What do you mean?
Someone's not counting.
I can show you the picture of it. Like, you would look at it and be like, yeah, that's probably half a million people. I don't know where that figure comes from.
I believe you, but I was like, if you go by tickets sold, like that's a good way to, or how much a stadium holds, that's a good way to know how many people. But if you're just in the middle of it,
you're like, what's this place hold? 78,000? Do you see any open seats? No. 78,000. But no, that's always the figure that I've heard. I don't know who even knows. Maybe it could be highway information.
Do you think they sounded off? They're like 1, 2, 3 of it.
Yeah. Roger Waters was like, all right, before we start, we're going to divide everybody up in teams. We're going to divide everybody. There was a whole thing. The power went out twice during the show and all this stuff. It was a whole thing. But that's what I always think of when that's the right decision there, where the promoter was like, you know what, just take it down. Like, we were expecting 125. We made the money on this event. Just let whoever in.
Yeah, because people are going to get hurt.
Right, yeah.
So this is nothing new. People being injured at concerts for the exact same reasons they were injured and or killed at Astroworld. The biggest factor, I think, is that the fact that they were kids.
Yeah.
So you take, people in general feel like a drunk 35-year-old man that gets crushed and killed at a concert, well, he was being an idiot.
Right.
But
or
a
you hear
9-year-old,
about the guy that falls out of the stands at the baseball game or whatever.
So a 9-year-old kid that gets crushed at a concert was just a 9-year-old kid being a kid.
Sure.
And that should never have happened. Mm-hmm. So you feel worse as the public when a child gets hurt doing something.
Yeah, and I totally see that perspective.
There's also something that people aren't understanding is there, like something that Travis Scott is very heavily involved in is something called rage culture, and it's very much how all of his concerts are, and it's like, you know, and then people get out of control because of that.
Which
yes, and it's not his fault per se, but he's perpetuating that situation.
Oh yeah. So it's like we talked about the Woodstock 99 thing, where it's like, you know, they sent the Chili Peppers out there to calm everybody down, and instead they light into a cover of Fire by Hendrix.
Yes.
Oh, I wonder why everybody lit shit on fire, Anthony.
Yeah. So it's
why couldn't you just sung about California again?
Culturally, it's the same kind of thing of why people get into mosh pits and beat the shit out of each other, even though that they claim to do it in a more proper way than what, you know.
I like when I beat people up. I like it to be the proper way.
So
I have a strict set of rules, a code of ethics, if you will.
Yeah, and so part of the reason is Travis Scott is already in the forefront of what's going on, right? He had his own festival, so then it makes it seem like it was a rinky-dink, like he wasn't using like, you know, some sort of huge like.
See, and that's the thing. From the way outside looking in, that's how it looked to me.
Yeah,
like the way the media was
presented.
And
it is his own, produces his own music festival, right? So it's his own thing, but that doesn't mean that it was any less put together than like any other music festival.
Sure.
So there, you got Travis Scott that's in the limelight already. Then you got kids dying. And then you got the fact that they made it look like it was just some rinky-dink, non-put-together type of thing. And then you have the fact that, well, Travis Scott's a black guy who is famous, and black people don't know how to contain themselves and don't know how to behave when things go crazy.
Bingo. That's how I took the coverage. To me, the coverage read like, oh, well, what do you expect? And I was so offended by the coverage.
Yep, and you can say, oh, why are you going to bring racism into it? Because it's involved in everything like this.
I would argue we're not the ones doing that.
Yes.
Like, the only coverage I saw of this, to me, and you guys know, I'm very down the middle with stuff. Like, I'm the guy that when people post articles, I'm like, okay, well, you know, half of that's not right. You know what I mean? And all of the coverage I saw seemed way slanted to me to like all but be like, well, what'd you expect?
Yes.
You know?
And so if you look at when you watch that Woodstock documentary and they talk about Limp Bizkit and the Chili Peppers, who very much caused that to happen.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, well, you know, okay, well, that happened. And if you look at all the stuff with Travis Scott, it's like, oh, he should go fucking kill himself. He's the worst person ever. And it turned into all this like satanic sacrifice shit that like literally makes no sense.
I'm going to say my second grandpa phrase in this single episode here, but you kids and your internet and your conspiracies. Every time I turn around, I got to hear about the Illuminati and what lizard people. And dude, no.
There are real people out there who think that he was performing a satanic sacrifice by letting people get killed at his show.
I
feel like about 4 days after is when that started.
Yeah.
Okay. That's about when I pulled the ripcord on the coverage. Like I was like, I'm not reading any more on this at all. And for me, and like I know Michelle, we were jokingly like you did research on this, but like, did you not uncover a whole history of things like this happening at concerts that you know what I mean? Like, and we're all acting like this never happened.
You got him. So also Travis Scott, he's a younger guy, right? So then it's also come out that he is not the best at crowd control at his shows, and he's often disrespectful to security and encourages people to be disrespectful to security,
which is a fine line for the artist to walk.
Yes,
because if you're an artist and you're up there and you see a jerk beating up a kid, you know, and I actually didn't even plan to share the story, but you guys know this. I recently went to an event downtown Detroit. First of all, I walk in the door and security, quote unquote, they all had security shirts on, are all doing shots together at the bar. And then when I left, this is a venue, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but this is a venue in Detroit that is notorious for overselling. So it was, you know, there's a million people in this tiny little place. Right. On my way out the door, I hear one of the security guys complaining to the other security guy that he didn't get to kick anybody's ass tonight. That is not your job, dude. Nope. You know, so anyways, I'm circling this back to your point was it's a hard place for the artist to be, because if you're on the stage and you see security roughing up a kid for no reason, you got to take a stand on that. But then you can give the other 20,000 people the idea, you know, the people who don't understand what you're doing, the idea that you're anti security, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a weird
and
place.
And that's not it happens in all music where I was just watching something where there's a Lil Jon the East Side Boys song where they do a song with Bone Thugs and Harmony. And it's like they talk about fuck the security, yeah, but whatever. I don't know the exact lyrics, but like it comes up all the time in different songs where it's just like fuck the security trying to tell you what to do, like act crazy, whatever. And it's fine to act like that if people understand that is what's happening. That you can't actually.
And that's the thing.
It can't be fuck all the security guards. I'm going to do whatever I want because they're there to do a job ultimately. And like you were saying, the guys at the place you're talking about, they make security guards look bad by the way that they behave. So you have this weird tension between concert goers and security to begin with.
Yeah.
And then you have the person perpetuating fuck the security.
There's a clip out there on the internet, and I can't believe I'm going to say Axl Rose did something right, but there's a show in 2006 from San Francisco where I don't even know what song they're doing, but Axl stops the show and loses his mind at the guys in security because they're absolutely just up front beating kids up for no reason. Mm-hmm. And Axl throws all the security, he's like, we are not playing one more note until this entire security team is out of here. Like they're out of there. And then they go and the whole place cheers and everything. But then before they start the song up again, Axl stopped and explained to the crowd, this is why this happened. Now there's no security here. You guys really have to be cool to each other. And I was like, what'd you do with Axl? But I thought that was the greatest thing. And again, that's, this was a theater tour. So it's 1,200 people. It's much different than, the Astroworld event. I'm not saying, Travis Scott could have done that, but also it is on them to a certain extent to be like, hey, this is why this happened.
Yeah. And people love to assume or act like that the performer or whoever, they can never do no right after something like this happens, right? So the public expects them to do something a certain way, and if they don't do it exactly verbatim how they're expected to do it, then they're a fucking asshole.
Oh, for sure.
And is Travis Scott rude to people and perpetuates this kind of thing? Sure. I've heard countless instances of this going on, so I'm going to believe that it's true, that this does happen at his shows. But at the same time, he did issue an apology. And then people are like, "Oh, well, that's the worst apology I've ever seen." Yeah. So, what do you want him to do? He's there to do a job. May not have been fully aware what was going on, and people died. And then, what do you want him to do afterwards? What?
Yeah.
If he says he's sorry, he's not sincere enough. If he doesn't say anything, he's an asshole.
Right. Yeah.
So there's no one wins in the whole situation.
No,
people died. The whole thing got fucked up, and then he's to blame. And there's no.
It's an unfortunate situation all the way around.
Yes, all of it.
We're gonna circle back a little bit later, and we covered a great deal of it now. But we'll circle back to how much of the responsibility is on the artist in a little bit. But do either of you have any experiences like this where there was a crowd surge, or even just a scary moment at a show, or where you went in somewhere and it was way oversold and you're just I do not feel safe here? What did you do in that instance? I mean, I was probably standing there, but
no.
I also drink, so I don't know if I remember what happened.
No, I went to Warped Tour. I was 15. Mm-hmm. And I was in a walking cast, as you do.
Yeah, because you fall down a lot.
Yeah. We were just waiting to see who's going to be on stage next. It wasn't the best planned thing. There was no internet in your pocket. You just kind of were who's going to be next? Yeah. And it ended up being Pennywise. And so there's 3 15-year-old girls just waiting to see who's next. And then as soon as Pennywise comes on stage, people rush. Yeah. We got pushed to the ground. And I remember some guy behind me pulled me up by my tank top and stretched out the things, and then my friend lost her shoe, and it was scary. It was honest. And after that,
she lost her shoe. How many people did you hit with your cast?
A lot.
Oh yeah.
But the rest of it literally ruined the rest of the day for us. It was we just kind of hung back and sat down in the middle of the field or wherever we were, and it was just kind of we're gonna listen from back here now. It's really scary when you're in there. And you can't figure out which way is out, and you keep getting pushed down.
That's a significantly smaller crowd than the ones I think of as GNR at Donington or Pearl Jam, where there was the mass crowd, people passing away. And I can't even imagine how much scarier it would be in the middle of 100,000, 200,000 people.
I noticed a lot of what was perpetuated about Astroworld was because they were all kids, right?
Right.
I don't think that kids fully understand what happens when you smush a bunch of people together.
Oh, yeah.
That not everyone is going to be able to fend off people smushing them.
Yeah.
So people fall and then get smushed and killed.
Yeah.
And
I read an article that says what happens. It was how are these people dying at these events? And they said it's not so much because they're trampled, it's because they get squeezed so hard that they can't get oxygen. And they said it's not just from the front. It's like for people rushing the stage, it's also from people trying to get out.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so, like, you can be squished on both sides.
That show that I went to the other night, I said, I was at a Detroit venue that famously oversells. We were at the very front, and I watched, 3 or 4 songs from the front of the stage, and then just turning around and being like, oh, God. Like, even thinking about how to get to the back of that crowd was intimidating, and I'm a big dude, Yeah. But the two experiences I wanted to share, and this is going to lead some into where I think we're going to talk some about where we think the responsibility lies for these incidences. And for me, I've always been convinced I went to my first concert in 1987, and I've seen every venue and genre of music that in crowd size you can think of. And from the first bad experience I had on, to me, the responsibility more lies with the people there, the concert goers, and what in your personal responsibility to other people. And the way I'm going to explain that is this. The two concert experiences that I can tell you that were completely different than what I expected, all because of the motivations of the people who went to see the show. One is I went, and I've seen this band many, many, many times, but I saw Van Halen in 1995, and it was like the second or third time that I'd seen Van Halen. Every person who went to that show went there to start trouble. Every single person that went into that building went there to get drunk and start a fight.
That's annoying.
It's for sure. I had seen Van Halen at least once before, and I didn't have that experience at all. But in 95, it was like every single person that was in there was absolutely looking to fight someone and have a problem. And it's like, there's nothing the Van Halen brothers or the Palace can do about that. You just have 20,000 assholes happen to show up.
And that's how some of that was with Astroworld, with the whole rage culture thing. They were there to, in quote unquote, rage.
Right,
and that is where the problem begins.
Right. So the other one that I thought, I literally walked into the venue and was like, I'm going to die here. Like, and I'm not even saying that funny, as I saw White Zombie and Pantera together at the Michigan State Fairgrounds in 93, 92, 93, something like that. And I just walked in, and I was between the crowd that Pantera draws.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And, this is people who at the time were touring for a record called Vulgar Display of Power, which features a man being punched dead in the face on the cover. So I literally walked in. I'm just like, I'm going to die here. Like, if I end up in any sort of bad situation, everyone here is bigger than me. Everyone here looks mean as hell. And I kid you not, it's one of the nicest concert crowds I've ever been in my entire life. I accidentally got sucked into the mosh pit because it was way bigger than I was playing. I was like way halfway back on the floor, and the mosh pit was so big that it was like I just got sucked into the vortex,
Yeah.
And literally, they were like two huge dudes who could see on my face. They were like, he did not mean to be a part of this, and they literally both picked me up and put me out of it. And I saw from the outside, anytime somebody even stumbled and started to fall, there were 4 or 5 dudes being boom, put their arms out, backed people up, and made sure that they were cool before it continued. And it was so funny. They'd make sure it's cool, and then they'd go back to beating each other.
That's one of the number one rule of a mosh pit is if you see someone fall over, you pick them up.
Yeah.
No matter what's happening, if someone falls over, you pick them the fuck up.
Yeah, and I never expected that there. And like I say, it's this band is touring for an album where a guy's getting punched in the face on the cover, and it was the nicest people in the crowd. So those are my two big ones. But I will say I've been in plenty of venues that are way oversold. And for me, the smaller the event, the worse off it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to a 100,000 seat show. I've been to 200,000 people in a festival, and I don't have an issue because there's always somewhere you can roam and be cool. When you get in some of these small venues, like Michelle, you and I have been to, there's a place this is not the venue I was complaining about earlier. I want to be clear. The Shelter here in Detroit is under another famous venue called St. Andrew's Hall. And we've been to shows in there where I'm wildly uncomfortable with just being there's way too many people in this room.
I'm that person who knows where the exits are.
Yeah.
I'm in the back, couldn't figure out the fastest way to get out of a building, and it might be because of that Pennywise thing,
even
man.
Here while we're doing the show, that's why she sits in the angle she does, so she can see the exit.
I can see the exits from wherever I am.
Yeah.
But that's just, I don't like it. I don't like that feeling of being trapped. So I'm good to be in the back. You know what's like that is the blind pig. The blind pig is awful.
Yeah. Yeah, the Blind Pig, I don't have a problem throwing them under the bus. That's a terrible venue. That's always oversold.
Always.
Always oversold. And
There's no back to sit in. Even if you're back against the wall, and it's
bad news.
It's bad
in that place. So I guess this leads into the next question, which how much responsibility do you guys feel falls on the venue? So here's why I'm asking. So you're saying, Kyle, I'm not being funny. This is new information to me because I don't know a lot about Travis Scott, that he's into this rage culture and he openly encourages this type of behavior.
And there's been, I guess, a few of his security people that have been security at his other shows have come out and said, like, dude, he encourages people to do shit they shouldn't be doing.
Okay, so how much responsibility would you say is on the venue then? How many should the venue not then pass on this event and be like, well, then you're not having it here?
Yeah, there has to be something to where, like, when you go to a city and there's a noise ordinance during past a certain time, they say either you're going to cut the show off or you're done. There's no.
It doesn't stop people from lighting off fireworks in our time.
That's true, but like,
you guys can listen to my second podcast where I complain about.
Old Man Russ complains about the neighborhood.
So in theory, if they went into this thing knowing that he does this type of thing at shows, there should have been something to where the place where the venue was held at, they were like, if this happens, this is done.
Right.
And if you like sign an agreement saying that you're not going to do this, yada yada, so you can be held legally responsible if you start doing this and a problem arises, then that's what's going to happen.
I heard that the police department or sheriffs or whoever in Texas, that's where this happened, right? Texas?
Yes.
They said that if Travis Scott had stopped the concert, then it would have caused more people to be
it would have been
injured.
way worse.
Yes.
So, like...
Well, that's what I'm asking, though. So you have a venue, or you have a tour that is steeped in self-proclaimed rage culture. You book it. Does the responsibility ultimately fall on you for holding that show?
I feel like the venue has to be responsible enough to know what they're getting into and staff accordingly and to know what's going to happen. I think for something as large as, I feel like any of the Who, the Rolling Stones, Travis Scott, I feel like it's not just like some podunk concert, it's big enough to where people know what's going to happen, or, the kind of people it attracts is, people who are going to rage out and mosh or whatever. But then if the artist is egging these people on and not caring about the concert goers' well-being, like I've seen other artists stop shows and being like, get this guy out of here, he's causing trouble, or can you please everyone step back? You guys are crushing the front people, the people in the front row. Like,
you know what's weird? And this is true. A bunch of artists went and removed videos of them doing that off of their YouTube channels after the Astroworld thing happened. Why wouldn't you leave up the thing where you're like, you wouldn't draw attention, like you wouldn't go on your Facebook and we did it the right way. But like, why would you remove that? I remember I read about that too. I don't
think
get that.
Because the media was using it against
Travis Scott. Yeah.
So they were pitting musicians against each other. Like, look what the Foo Fighters did. Travis Scott
did hear about the Foo Fighters a lot.
So that's, I think, why that happened.
The other one, and I'm glad you're both sitting for this, but you're never going to believe this, but the media had incredible bias against Michael Jackson again. Did you see those stories that were like, Michael Jackson just stood there all the time while, because he's famous for standing there for 2 minutes while, people faint.
Yeah.
And they were like, look at that. Michael Jackson did that. Nobody ever complained. First of all, you would be very hard pressed to find a person who cared more about his fans than Michael Jackson. And second of all, you ever hear about anybody passing away at an MJ show? No. You know why? Because he had everything in place to take care of that. What you do see on MJ videos is all of the people fainting, by the way, as a person who fainted when he saw Michael Jackson in concert, there was no crowd. Nobody pushed against me or anything. He just pointed in our general direction and I fell the hell down. That's what those people are feigning from in the MJ videos. They're not feigning from lack of oxygen, and what they're literally like, he stands there for 2 minutes and they go, and they just fall down. But there's people in place to take care of that.
Yes.
So again, I know I defend him a lot on the show, but I just get sick of that media bias. They were just like, he just stood there and did nothing.
Well, I think this was, like I said, a perfect storm. I feel like they were not prepared with security guards and what would happen and the people who were going to be, and maybe they weren't prepared for all the people who were rushing in. But he also perpetuated that. So like, I feel like it was a double-edged sword in this situation.
So see if you guys agree with me on this. Here's how I break it down percentage-wise in order, because we're going to talk about what ways we think that this could be prevented from happening. For me, as far as like where responsibility lies if and when something like this happens, for me, it's 40-40 for the venue and the crowd. I think everybody is leaving the crowd out of this argument.
Yeah.
Okay. And then 20 on the artist. Because if you say, I'm going to have a rage culture event, you've made it as clear as you can that this is going to be that thing. Okay.
Yes.
Now, that's why I say it's 20% because you still have to do what you can. And I couldn't agree more. The worst thing that could have happened was him being like, the show's over. Like that would have been, we would be talking about absolutely the worst thing that's ever happened at a concert. But do you agree with that? That I think it's 40% the venue, and I think it's, but the thing no one's talking about is don't be an asshole.
Yeah,
I think it's 40%.
That's what I was going to mention.
sure.
Is for whatever reason, when the general public gets together, they turn into garbage people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever look at an area where a concert has happened after it's happened, and there's fucking trash everywhere, because people can't figure out how to use a garbage can.
Yeah.
They also can't figure out how to treat people when they're in public.
Right.
So they also feel like they're not responsible for anything that happens there. So they're just going to go in there and fucking act however they want to act, and it's somebody else's problem.
And everybody walks around with a me first attitude. They're some kind of Michelle and they deserve it.
So yeah, I totally agree with you. The fans, you're there. You guys are all there for the same purpose. And like you were saying at that Pantera show, you were scared shitless, but it's the nicest crowd that you've ever been scared shitless in, because they all know how that operates and how that works. There's rules to having a fucking mosh pit,
right?
And they all abide by it. And if you don't abide by it, you get your ass kicked and you're done.
You ain't kidding either.
There's no. That's how it is. And that's when you brought that up. It's not funny, but you've seen a lot of the metal crowd like being like, you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing, like when that whole thing happened.
Yep.
And I was like, oh well, that's shitty for them to say, but when you talk about the Pantera show, like that's where they're coming from.
Dude, that was in '92, man.
Yes,
that was pre mosh pit waivers and stuff. You know, they were just like, oh, we don't know. This is like this is gonna happen.
Yeah, and it just people turn to garbage people when they're in public.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's just what happens.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're a 9-year-old kid or you're a 45-year-old man or an 80-year-old woman. You turn into a garbage person, or you can, if you're put in a situation like that.
I also feel like people feed off other people. So you can go there with good intentions, and then when people start being shitty to you, then you're just going to be shitty too.
Which is how you live your whole life. Yeah, just as soon as someone's shitty to you, you're just shitty to everyone else.
Isn't that the golden rule?
Yes.
It also what does
we often quote Jesus Christ on the show. But Kyle, one thing I want to say before I forget is, I think I've mentioned this on the show before. This is wildly off topic, but one of my favorite quotes in life comes from the movie Men in Black, the first one, where Tommy Lee Jones is explaining the whole situation to Will Smith, and Will Smith is like, well, why don't you tell people? Like, people are smart. And Tommy Lee Jones says, a person is smart. People are dumb.
Yes.
And he's like, if we told the whole world this, no one would be able to. That's why we tell like one guy at a time every so often. And if you were somehow able to like one off with each person ahead of time, like this is how you act in public, you would have better results. But as soon as you try and handle it in a mass crowd, no one's going to understand.
Yeah, you can, anytime, like you were saying about the crowd rushing in. And so people also don't understand what happens when, it doesn't matter if there's 500 security guards there. Mm-hmm. When there's thousands and thousands of people going all in the same direction for the same thing, there doesn't matter how many people are trying to stop them. That's not going to happen. Yep. We've seen it, at the Capitol riots and shit that happened. Like, people are being crushed in the doorway because a group of people are just pushing people, and it doesn't matter who the people are. That's what happens when you get an unruly crowd together.
Did you watch that HBO documentary?
Yes.
That is a hard watch.
Yes, it is.
The last 20 minutes is a hard watch.
It's terrible.
So you're kind of, overall, you're leading me into our last point, which is, how do we prevent this? Like, how do we make sure this never happens again? And like, for me, it's very easy, but I want to get your guys' take.
Don't be an asshole.
That's just don't be an asshole.
Mic drop.
Next week on the show. No.
To be completely honest, I don't think that you can prevent it, because there's always going to be assholes at shows.
People are going to fuck up. Yeah.
So this has happened throughout history. It happened at a Rolling Stone show where they, exchanged some beer for security by the Hells Angels.
And you're saying that's not the way to do it.
That's not how you handle security. And then the Hells Angels stabbed somebody who had a gun.
Right.
And it's on video.
Yeah.
It happened at the Who show.
Cincinnati.
It's happened.
Pearl Jam, right?
You talk about a heartbroken band. Like, Pearl Jam was like straight broken by that for years. GNR too. GNR, I think 88 Donington. A couple of folks lost their lives in the front. And crowd surge. It was absolutely a crowd surge situation. And for years, the whole band had issues with that, like mentally. Just we're all here to have a great time, and all of a sudden people
you inadvertently caused someone to die.
Yeah.
This kind of shit is why I stayed away from concerts for so long, because it freaks me out. I've been in two different situations where one, not even music related, but I went to Times Square on New Year's Eve one time. And we were, I think, 14 blocks away from where the ball was. Yeah. But there's security cops everywhere. It's very organized, and you're like crowded into these corrals. But when it got time for things to go down, we were so tightly packed in together that I could lift my feet off the ground and I wouldn't move.
Oh, yeah.
And there was people screaming, like having panic attacks and shit, and like... It's all about how you assess the situation when that's happening.
Right.
But like that shit's scary. There's a lot more people in Times Square during New Year's Eve than there is at any concert.
Oh yeah.
And like it's scary.
Oh, I agree.
And so the other time is I went to St. Andrews, and when I seen The Weeknd. Yeah. This was before he was a big thing. And it was in the middle of summertime. That was before they got all the air conditioning and shit fixed. So it was just all fucked up.
It was a hot box.
Yeah, so I did it to myself because I wanted to get as close to the stage as possible. So I crammed myself as far up as I could. But we were so smushed in there that people, like me and another person that was in front of me were like rationing a bottle of water between the two of us. Yeah. So we didn't like pass out. And
were you at least nice about it and spit in there and was like, there's more water for you now?
So, but what I'm saying is that crowd wasn't all fucked up and they weren't a bunch of assholes. We were there for a reason, and we were taking care of each other in the situation that we put ourselves in, right? Yeah. So we're rationing water, and the security is like tossing water bottles out to people in the crowd. Yeah. And, when I left there, I looked like I had jumped in a swimming pool and then got back out again. Like, that's how soaked I was. And I can't imagine if a bunch of people rushed in the front doors and then packed in even further, because that like...
Yeah. Well, it's like I said the other night at that show, I'm sure it was significantly less people, the artists that I was seeing, but I wasn't even thinking. Like, I was just standing with a friend, and we happened to be at the front of the stage. And then literally when I turned around and leave, I was like, oh, no. Like, how am I going to, you know what I mean? Like,
I've had that feeling before.
Yeah, like, how do I even get further back? Like, I don't want to be here anymore.
You just put your elbows up.
So, but you're saying it's going to happen.
It's going to.
But you would agree, though, that the overall, like, if we can get more people to stop being selfish,
yes,
and think at all about anybody around them, we can at least prevent this from happening. It will happen less than ever if we can get people to do that.
I cannot remember who said this, but they said the only thing that we learn from the past is that we don't learn from the past.
Oh, yeah.
And so you see all this stuff throughout music history happen, and it's going to happen again for the same exact reason. Mm-hmm. There are things you can put in place to keep it from happening, or to try to keep it from happening. Yeah. Like I said about the Times Square thing, like that is the most secure like area that you could be in at that time.
Yep.
And they do a really good job at keeping people from getting hurt, but it can still happen no matter what.
Oh, yeah,
it just depends on who's there.
Michelle, your thoughts on how we prevent this from happening? Yeah, I know you gave us a little spoiler teaser earlier.
Oh, just don't be an asshole. But I also want to be clear that we're not victim blaming. We're not saying that these victims caused.
I
just want to make sure that we're.
I'm glad you said that, but I hope no one.
Yeah, no, we're just saying in general, if everyone would just be kind to one another.
Yeah, you can use that in everyday life. It's just be nicer to each other.
Oh no, this is only for concerts.
It's just for concerts. You can go in there.
But I feel like
this from the person who literally complained recently about someone paying it forward in the drive-thru, and she didn't like that.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's stressful. But also, I feel like there are instances where security could be better.
Yeah.
Or the
venue.
Are
you suggesting not doing shots and complaining about not being able to kick someone's ass?
I guess outdoor venues are probably hard because especially ones that you're constructing your own walls, like to keep people out. And so I just feel like, but we've had the situations over and over and over again that at some point you got to figure it out, man. I feel like it's not new.
And what I think happens also is that the security that gets hired for these events that don't happen at like actual music venues they're just security guards. They don't have any clue about crowd control or any sort of if you work at a venue, then you have some sort of experience dealing with what goes on there. But if you're just some rinky-dink rent a security guard thing for extra security at like Coachella or something, you're not versed in how to control 10,000 people rushing in a certain place.
Yeah, I want to say, I don't want to be wrong on this, but the Woodstock, didn't they cover that too? Where they were like, we just hired some guys.
Yes, they were just a bunch of random people.
And there were even people that just got in and took their shirt off and was like, I'm not working security anymore.
The Woodstock got so out of control that the security guards were taking their shirts off and to hide the fact that they were security because they didn't want anything to be part of it.
You need to ask someone else.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. It's like if you actually had if there was some company out there that staffed like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people, that's all they did was just travel around and then crowd control, totally different story.
Yeah. I agree. Well, I feel like we did what we set out to do, which is put as positive of a spin on this as you can.
Yeah, and there's nothing. There is nothing positive.
There's
about
nothing
it.
positive about it, but I feel like I would hope that people that listen to this at least think about that. Like, I bet, if you take someone who's not even quote unquote like an asshole, there are probably people listening to this who have gone to shows and not even given a second thought about like the people around them.
Yes.
So if anybody starts thinking that way, it'll make me happy.
Yeah.
So like, and as always, we need everyone to just worry about what makes Michelle happy.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So
and also we're not victim blaming. There's no one's at fault. All these things happen because of a bunch of small things that happen all at the worst perfect time.
Perfect shitstorm.
Yes.
Yeah. Next week on the program, we are going to go back to our album review series. Kyle is going to pick an album for us to review. I will, of course, put a lot of time, energy, and thought into it, and Michelle will listen to it maybe once.
It depends on what it is.
Yes,
If it's Delta.
I don't mean this the wrong way, but please don't be Delta. We literally already accidentally reviewed that album. We could just start telling people that's a 2-for episode. You got a bonus review in there. But anyways, so next week we are going to do that. As we approach the end of this season, like I said at the beginning of the show, you're hearing the third to the last episode for the year. So we're going to have this one. Next week we're going to do Kyle's album review. And then if you've been with the program for any amount of time, we had a lot of fun with Spotify Wrapped last year. We had a lot of fun with Michelle's results, some of the surprising stuff on my results, and Kyle doesn't trust robots. And oh no, spoilers! If you haven't heard that episode, if you haven't been with us long enough to hear that episode, go back to last December and listen to that in preparation for the grand event that is going to be our Spotify Wrapped episode, because I think that's a lot of fun. And it wasn't you, Michelle, sent me a meme that was like, Spotify Wrapped is a way for companies to say, hey, we're tracking you, but isn't this fun?
But in a fun way.
But in a fun way. So anyways, that will be the season finale, and then we will take 2 weeks off. Michelle?
Yes.
Yeah, she's so excited.
It's another Michelleabration.
Then we'll be back for Michelle to be excited for at least 2 episodes before all the air is taken out of her balloon.
It depends on what your album is.
Oh, good Lord. Like we always say about this time, without music, life would be a mistake. Bye.
Bye.
The Infectious Groove podcast is hosted by Russ Robinson, Kyle Wimple, and Michelle Koselecki. Produced and edited by Russ Robinson. Intro and outro music composed by Chris Kimmel. Opening credits read by Stacey Robinson. Recorded with a Rode Podcaster Pro and Rode Pod mics.